Bonjour and welcome back to the GP4 OC Top Tier. We're here for the French Grand Prix at the Circuit Paul Ricard, and what's felt like an eternity since the last race in Monaco, won by Ricard. Of course, in the meantime, we had the Indy 500, which went well, which of course meaning that we won't have another Indy 500 for the time being. But anyway, we're back for the OC, the French Grand Prix. Previous 3 wins here at Paul Ricard have included Franco Lopez in 2018 and Miguel Scow actually winning the last 2 seasons in 2019 and 2020. That record set also by Franco Lopez in 2018 at 129.617. The tyres to be using for this race will be the medium tyres, and so in a minute we'll take a look at the practice results from Paul Ricard, and they are on your screen right now. It was a Red Bull 1-2, Roque ahead of his teammate Franco Gamba in second, Jesus Perrin in third, Chatfield fourth, Byrne, De Rossa, Lopez, Carr, Willows, and Rahul Patel completing the rest of the top 10. That was practice, however, and in a moment we'll take a look at the starting grid for the French Grand Prix, which is about to come up onto your screen right now. And here we go, and the qualifying results were as follows. On the front row of the grid, we have Jake Galloway in first with Jesus Perrin alongside him. On row 2, we have Laura Chung for Lamborghini and Chris Chatfield for Ferrari. Row 3, we have George Roque for Red Bull and Armand Carr for Mercedes. Row 4, Franco Gamba for Red Bull and Franco Lopez for Mercedes. I'm looking to qualify from both Red Bulls actually. A little bit off the pace. Row 5, we have Joseph Willows 9th and Rahul Patel 10th, just like in practice as well. Row 6, we have Roland Moyton, a good qualifying by him in the Mercedes in 11th with Evan Byrne alongside him in 12th. Row 7, Kirosima De Rossa for McLaren and Amelia Wilson for Haas. Row 8, we have Andrea Federi for Alfa Romeo and Miguel Scow for Alfa Tauri. Row 9, Daniel Fraser for Haas and Jamie Griffiths 18th for Williams. Row 10, Julius Anderson for Aston Martin and Romain Quag 20th for Alfa Romeo. And on the last row of the grid we have David Kupok for Alfa Tauri and Felix Sontag for Williams. So that is the grid for the French Grand Prix, and we'll now take a look at the weather report for the race. And as you can see, it will be dry, although we have a 7% chance of rain, 7% chance of rain I should say. However, that will be at the end of the race, or it will be way after the end of the race. So it's going to be a dry one throughout. So the big question is, can Ferrari win this one? Or could Jesus Perrin maybe take a win? Or could maybe Laura Chung for Lamborghini sneak in a win and get Lamborghini on the board for the season? Well, we're about to find out as we'll now head onto the grid. Okay, so we are now onto the grid. It's a relatively short run up into the first corner, but Jesus Perrin could easily get a good enough launch to jump Galloway to the first corner. But we're about to find out who gets the best launch off the line, as the 5 lights are now on, and they go out, and we are underway for the French GP. It looks like Galloway has got a pretty good start, and it's going to keep ahead of Jesus Perrin into the first corner. Can Chung get it into second? The answer is no. She stays in third. Meanwhile, there's a Red Bull behind. I think that is George Roque trying to make a move. Meanwhile, there's movements throughout the field there. I think Galloway was moving up the order. Kupok and Sontag have moved up for Derry's dropped down. And now, will there be any crash on the first lap? There always seems to be at Paul Ricard, particularly around this section of the circuit. Obviously, all the blue lines, blue and white lines outside the track, they're so confusing. I say blue and white, blue and black. They're so confusing, really. But if you go on them, you have no grip whatsoever. So yeah, you don't want to go out wide on this track. Meanwhile, Franco Gamba's made a terrible start. He dropped all the way down to 10th position. He's not made a good start whatsoever. And coming down the back straight, it's almost 3 wide between Carr, Chatfield and George Roque in the Red Bull there. Roque on the inside of Chatfield, and he gets into 4th place. And well, that was interesting. 3 wide down the straight there in France. That was pretty cool. Now Carr will try and maybe take a look at Chatfield coming off of the straight, heading into the tight, twisty end of the circuit. And Carr is on the inside. I think he's actually going to go past Chatfield, and he does. So he moves up into P5, so Chris Chatfield down to P6, and the reason why is he's got quite a heavy fuel load. Looking at the rest of the drivers behind, there's a few on relatively light, but a lot of them look to be doing the 2-stopper here. You can do the 1-stopper in France, but you really need to preserve your tyres, and particularly around a track like this, it is tough. But meanwhile, it already looks like Perrin and Galloway out front are currently already getting a gap to Laura Chung in third as they come across the line for the end of the first lap, and Galloway of course leads, heading on to lap 2. Perrin very close behind him. He's the fastest lap. Meanwhile, Chatfield already going to drop another position behind the other Mercedes, it looks like, of Lopez coming into the turn 1, and Lopez on the inside, and he has made it up into 6th position. So Chatfield on that one stop already struggling at the start of this race. There's Roque in third, who's going to probably try and attempt to get up to Laura Chung. And Daniel Fraser meanwhile is already off at the first corner, so we've had our first incident at turn 1. Now turn 1 is the main sticking point at this track. There always seems to be crashes at turn 1, and here is the first one, and yep, just a little tap there, enough for Fraser to go around. But not too bad, really, for for Sontag, that is. Meanwhile, now this is the battle for third position. Chung under pressure from both a Mercedes and a Red Bull. Roke on the inside, and Carl trying to go around the outside. They head towards the chicane, and Carl nearly makes contact with Roke, but Roke does make it up into P3 past Chung. And Carl will now look at trying to get past Chung as well, but now he's got his teammate, Ranko Lopez, behind as well, so Carl's going to be careful here. Now, coming up towards the first corner, this is Carl in the slipstream of the green Lamborghini, and Carl on the inside. Can he make it past Chung? She will defend hard, Chung, and she does, so Carl is unable to make it through, heading through turn 1, now into turn 2. But if you could get a good enough run off the corner, you could easily make it into the next corner. And Carl looking on the inside, can he make it stick? And the answer is no. And oh, meanwhile, Evan Byrne is out. He's missing a rear wheel, and Patel has been involved, and Evan Byrne's luck does not seemingly get any better. So Patel has managed to rejoin. I don't know if he had damage or not. I couldn't quite see. It went through a bit too quickly. But well, for Byrne, he certainly isn't going anywhere, as he's only got 3 wheels on his wagon. And so he is out of the race on lap 4, and this is the reason why. So this was Byrne trying to get past Patel into the first corner, and obviously there was a collision. So Byrne tried it down the inside. I mean, there was I don't really know who to blame there. I think Byrne went for it. There wasn't really a gap there to go for, but he went for it nonetheless. I mean, you know the old phrase, if you don't go for a gap, you're not a racing driver, skit. But I don't know, I think that's probably more 60-40 on Byrne there. I think Patel did defend, but yeah, got unfortunately tagged, and I think Patel did get damaged. I think there was a bit of wing that just flew off there, so Patel, yeah, did get damaged, so unfortunately he has to go to the pits, so he doesn't get away exactly scot-free from that. Well, well, Byrne doesn't either, because he's out of the race, unfortunately. But yeah, so there we go. First retirement of the race on lap 4, and the first one at turn 1, the best overtaking point, but also the most crash-prone spot on the circuit. So the marshal, of course, pushes him away, and the incident reviewed has come out as Byrne giving a 5-place grid penalty, or I should say receives a 5-place grid penalty because of the incident with Patel. Meanwhile, this is Lopez, who goes past Chung, P5, into the chicane, another major overtaking spot on the circuit. Meanwhile, Roland Moichin has overtaken a Ferrari, I think, under yellow flags. He was overtaking Chris Chatfield there, so I think he is going to get a penalty for that. And meanwhile, this is Julius Anderson, the other Aston Martin, who's behind Miguel Scow in the AlphaTauri. And it's like he's going to make a move coming up towards turn 3, and he goes to the inside, Anderson, and makes it stick. And as you can see, Moichin receives a 5-second time penalty for overtaking Chatfield under yellow flags, so that will affect him come the end of the race. And speaking of cars, Armour Car is in the pits for his first stop of the race, and so it was a quick stop actually by Mercedes, 5.7, but clearly being this early, only 11 laps in a 53 lap race, it is of course going to be a 3-stop strategy. And so he's going to come out right in the mid-pack, down to 16th position, 17th even, so he's behind David Kupok in the AlphaTauri. I'm not sure that strategy is going to work out, because I mean, car will have to go through a fair amount of traffic. And meanwhile, speaking of traffic, there was Quag and Sontag battling. And oh, there's another spinner off the track there, and that is a McLaren. And Chatfield has been involved because he's missing a wing, and it's the McLaren of De Rossa, who also does not get any luck whatsoever. And wow, you can see that. So De Rossa tried to make a move on the inside of Chatfield coming in towards turn 3, and he did make it, but he went a little bit too wide, went into the side of Chatfield and spun himself out. And Chatfield, unfortunately for him, has also got front wing damage. You can see, oh, look at the speed that De Rossa came around the corner there, and De Rossa has actually received a 10-second time penalty for causing the incident with Chatfield. No surprise there. And meanwhile, this is Carr, who's trying to get past the traffic in the field, so he goes past Kupok into the chicane up into P14. So now he's going to have to get past Quag and Sontag, the French and the German battling together. So meanwhile, we're looking at Laura Trunk at the moment. He's in P5, but although not for long, because Moichin might have actually squeezed his way past her. Coming into turn 3, Moichin does make it through past Laura Trunk, and Roland Moichin having a great start to this race, already up into the top 5. And although he is on light fuel, probably going to be still a 3-stop, I reckon. But meanwhile, this is Carl once again trying to get himself back up through the field. He's behind the Alfa Romeo of Quag to head towards the turn 1, but he's also close behind Sontag, who defend into the first corner. and then Quag yeah, stays ahead of Carl, and Carl's not going to be happy about this because the strategy's not exactly favoured him right now because he's stuck in all this traffic. Meanwhile, the race leader Jake Galloway comes in, and his fuel is quite light, so I reckon I think he may do the 3-stop. I think he is going to do the 3-stop. 5.8 seconds, again, quick stop for him. Where does he come out on the circuit? He comes out behind Lopez in the Mercedes, and here he is behind Lopez just a lap later. And Lopez, I don't think he's going to have any kind of defence to Galloway, who is exceptionally quick, it seems. Galloway on the inside and makes it cleanly through turn 1, and he's now back up into 3rd position, and he's got the Red Bull of George Roque next in line, who I think is only about 6 seconds away. And yeah, so I reckon on the fresh will get him very quickly. Meanwhile, Perrinin himself is 14 seconds ahead of George Roque, so Perrinin also into the pits now, so probably explains why, because he was on light fuel, so Roque clearly on a heavier fuel load. So Perrinin obviously, it was a slow stop actually, 7.9 seconds, and Galloway, look at that, 1:29.765, well ahead of Perrinin as Perrinin comes out the pits, and Galloway only 3 seconds off Roque. He'll get him probably in the next 2 laps, I reckon. I don't think Roque will have any defence whatsoever. Looking at the rest of the field, meanwhile Joseph Willows, who has got a heavy fuel load, and he's definitely going to be doing the one-stop strategies. They head towards the first corner, but he was looking at the back of Chung, but not quite close to make a move. Meanwhile, Carr still stuck behind Quag and Sontag, so this 3-stop strategy for him has not worked out whatsoever. And also, I said Galloway would get Roque in 2 laps. It might even be less than that, because he's already caught up to him by the end of the lap, and oh my word, and he tried to absolutely launch it down the inside. He got so much more momentum. It's got the tyres off the corner there, and I thought Galloway was just going to steamroll past him, but he actually backed off, because I think if he didn't back off, there may have been a collision there. But you can see, I think Roque just didn't get a good run out of turn 2 at all there, and Galloway actually did have the gap there, but just didn't actually go for it. But he's going to wait until the end of the start-finish straight. They head on to lap 19 to then make the move into the first corner. So he's on the inside, is Galloway, up into turn 1, and does he make it stick? And the answer is yes, he does. And so Galloway leads the race, and Roque is pitting in a couple of laps' time. Meanwhile, Perrinin trying desperately to get past the McLaren of Lopez there into the first corner. He's unable to make a stick, although if he gets a good enough run, he could make it into turn 3 if he does a dive on the inside maybe, but Lopez defends hard, so that is not going to happen there. Laura Chung, meanwhile, into the pits as well. So looking at Perrinin, who will surely make a move on Lopez at the chicane. And just think as well, if the chicane wasn't there, we'd have nearly all the overtakes at turn 1, but the chicane, although a lot of people don't like it, it's one of the places where you can make an overtake. So as Perrinin trying to make it on the inside, Lopez not quite got enough grunt in a straight line, although he goes for it late into the chicane, but he can't do it. Lopez holds on, goes a little bit wide there. Meanwhile, Carr has finally got past Quag. It's taken him a lot of time to do it, but now he's got to get past Sontag, and of course we all know how difficult it is to pass Sontag. Just ask Joseph Willows. So as we look at Lopez, who is he going to be overtaken finally by Perrinin? The answer is yes. Perrinin finally does make it up the inside into 3rd place, and now we'll go after Roque in 2nd. But well, gracious, can he even catch up to Galloway? And the answer, I think, to that is most likely going to be no, because Galloway is in a league of his own right now. Quag, meanwhile, is coming into the pit this lap. Carr still stuck behind the Williams of Sontag. So yeah, again, that 3-stop strategy for Carr's not working out right now, because he hasn't got actually that much fuel left until he pits next time around. So he's going to be in the lower reaches of the top 10 by the time he comes in. But Carr on the inside of Sontag into the first corner. Does he go for it? The answer is yes, on the fresher tyres and in the faster car, of course, and he's through finally up into P8, but the damage has already been done. Meanwhile, Franco Gamba, who's had a very lonely race so far, I kind of actually forgot he was there really, didn't make a good start. He's gained a few positions, but that's only because drivers have actually pitted, so when you think about it, he's not really gained anything. Federi, by the way, is in 6th place as well. I hadn't even seen that. Meanwhile, this is Perrinin, who is running in 3rd and makes a big mistake coming through the right-hander there, and Lopez is able to catch up, and he might even overtake Perrinin because he's in the slipstream and has got a good run off the corner heading up towards the chicane. So a very costly mistake there by Jesus Perrinin, and so Lopez says thank you very much and takes 3rd place back. So that is even better news for Galloway and also for Roque in front too. But Perrinin once again tried desperately to get on the inside here, but he can't quite do it, and you can see the gap actually to Roque is about 8 seconds, so it's currently working out in Galloway and Roque's favour as well. And meanwhile, Lopez now finally comes into the pits. So Perrin is finally free of, well, I was about to say his fellow Spaniard, his fellow Latin driver, I guess you could say. Lopez is in, and he's going to be doing the 2-stop. He's going to have light fuel in this stint, so yeah, this could be interesting to see where he comes out the pits. He's going to come out, I think, behind Joseph Willis, who's not pitting for a few laps yet, because he's going to be doing the 1-stop, so he's behind him, and he's about to come out the pit exit where he can finally put the pedal to the metal, and he does, and he comes out, looks like in P5, just ahead of Franco Gamba, his fellow Franco there. And Franco Gamba, who is, I remind you, is running in this race, but he's had a very, very lonely race. And crucially, of course, Lopez is actually also ahead of Armar Carr as well. So that, yeah, again, the strategy for Carr has just not worked whatsoever. And, he's stuck behind Gamba, and he's even dropped behind his teammate, Franco Lopez. So, but I think it looks like he's going to pass Gamba on the back straight here, because he's in the slipstream of the Red Bull car, and he's heading up down the inside of the Italian in towards the chicane. This is going to be a very, very simple move, like taking candy from a baby, and yep, there we go, he is through, up past Gamba, up into P6, and I say he'll go after Lopez, he won't be able to, because he's going to be pitting a couple of laps. Meanwhile, Jordan in the Red Bull, finally coming in for his first stop of the race, so it's clearly going to be the 2-stop for him. If he went a few laps longer, he maybe could have made it into the 1, but it will be the 2-stop nonetheless. So he changes all 4 tyres, and yep, he's going to be the 2. So he's going to come out, I think, behind Willows. Pit stop for him was relatively quick. It was only 6 seconds. So, yeah, again, a fairly quick stop there. Although he actually might come out ahead of Willows, you know. He's only just come around the final corner. So I think if Rook comes out ahead of Willows, that will actually benefit him quite significantly later on in the race. Meanwhile, this is Julius Anderson, who's behind Chung, who herself is trying to get past the AlphaTauri of Kupok, who is going to be pitting next lap, as you can see with the amount of fuel that he's got in his car. Not pitting this lap, but next lap. So Chung, will she be able to make a move into the first corner? And the answer is, well, she's going to go for it anyway. She's going to try it as they head towards the first corner. Chung on the inside. Does she make the move stick? And the answer is, no, she doesn't. Meanwhile, Federi passes Julius Anderson for 11th behind, just outside of the points. And meanwhile, there's a big gaggle of cars heading up towards the final corner there, as Chung once again tries on Kupok, coming into turn 3 there, but he fails to make she fails to make it stick as they come through now turn 5. And I think I just saw another pit call for somebody there. I couldn't quite see who it was. I think it might actually, no, I think it was Franco Gamba, I believe. And yet Franco Gamba is pitting this lap, and as I said, David Kupok is as well. Chung now trying to go past Kupok, but now, unfortunately for Chung, she's got the Alfa Romeo there of Federi trying to get through as well. And so Chung, unable to make it past Kupok, but does manage to fend off from Federi coming in towards the chicane there. But Federi is certainly very quick in this race. And would he even have a go coming into the fast right-hander? He's close. He's actually going to go for it, Federi. Will he make it stick? And the answer is no, not quite. Coming into turn 11. Now coming into turn 12. But that was close. Meanwhile, Galloway clear up front. He's going to be pitting in a couple of laps' time. And oh my word, what on earth? I think De Rossi just went past 2 cars coming into the chicane there. So he's moved up into P17 trying to recover up the order. But that was a great move. And I hope we do see a replay of that, because I'm pretty sure De Rossi just went past 2 cars. Meanwhile, Sontag trying to go past Quag, coming through into turn 11, which he does so he's now up into 90th place, and now they've got the Ferrari behind of Jake Galloway, and so they're going to be lapped by him very soon, because they're closing right up actually now to the back of Daniel Fraser, who of course got spun in a collision with Sontag earlier on in the race. So as Galloway now goes past Quag and the Alfa Romeo, now he's got the Williams and the Haas in front of him as they're coming through the final corner. We're just about as well at the halfway point of this race, and so Sontag, I thought he was getting out of the way of Galloway then, but obviously not. Meanwhile, this is Lopez, who's looking at the back of Joseph Willows. This is for 4th position as they're heading up towards turn 1. Lopez unable to make it through there. Is he going to go for a late move on the inside? The answer is no. Willows holds his ground, and actually the reason why Willows is behind, Willows is ahead, I should say, of Lopez is because Lopez made a mistake. Now, meanwhile, Carr is in and has yet again another quick stop. I think that was only 5.5 seconds, but of course, the 3 stop for him, it's put him quite far down the order. He's going to come out actually behind a lot of traffic, although actually a couple of cars, Wilson and Gal, are actually pitting, so maybe not. On second thoughts, they've come up behind Chris Chatfield, though, as he goes through that questionable marshal on the pit exit there. And so Wilson looking to make a move on Gal coming into turn 3. Oh, she does it, actually. She does make the move past the AlphaTauri there, so good job there by Amelia Wilson. So as we look through the rest of the order, there's Roke in a comfortable third. At this moment in time, Lopez, who's looking to get back past Willows after his mistake. Meanwhile, Galloway is in. Of course, he is going to be doing the 3-stop strategy. 6.6 second stop for the Ferrari team, and he's going to come out, I think, just behind Perrinin, but it will certainly not be long until he passes him. Probably he'll catch up to him by the end of the lap, really, judging by his pace. So Galloway now comes out of the pits. He's only 4.2 seconds behind, so he'll gain that, catch that back up probably about 2 laps. Well, 2 to 3 laps, I think. Certainly no more than 3. Lopez, meanwhile, trying to make a move back on Joseph Willows after the mistake he made. And so he's going to go for it on the inside, heading up towards the chicane. And can he make it stick? And the answer to that is a big fat no. No, it can't. A big fat NO to that one. So Lopez cannot make it stick through there. So now he's going to be in the slipstream of Willows as they're heading on towards turn 1. And so surely this is going to be the move for Lopez. He's thought long enough about what to do. He's on the inside of the McLaren, and he finally does make it past Willows up into P4. Willows did a valiant job, actually, of holding Lopez up after he got back past him after the mistake. There was Julius Anderson in the Aston Martin, who was just going into the pits. Meanwhile, Carr is going to go past Chatford, it looks like, for what is now going to be 9th position. And Carr already well alongside the Ferrari, and a very comfortable move there. So he's up into P9. And so now he's got Laura Chung, the next target ahead. Meanwhile, David Kupok on the back of De Rossa. This is the battle for P13 there. As we look now currently at Galloway, who is very close behind Perrinin. The gap is just about a second. As we're looking now at Franco Gamba himself, who's overtaking Chatfield in towards the first corner. And the answer is, can he do it? Yes, he can. So he's now up into the points territory. Only 1 point though. But yeah, again, Gamba's had a pretty invisible race so far. You could say that. Meanwhile, Kupok now attempting to go past De Rossa coming into the first corner, and De Rossa defends hard, so that doesn't happen. And so now that allows Romain Quag to have an opportunity to overtake. Although Kupok's got a good run off the corner here, could he make it maybe past De Rossa coming into turn 3? And the answer is yes, he can. So good move there by David Kupok past the McLaren in the AlphaTauri, which is one of the slowest on the well, it's probably the slowest car in the field, really. Meanwhile, this is the battle for the lead. This is Galloway on the inside of Jesus Perrinin. Can he make a stick? The answer is no, he can't. Didn't quite have enough grunt in towards the first corner there, but he's got a much better run off of turn 2. Will he launch it into turn 3? Perrinin defends hard, so the answer to that is no. As they head through turn 4, there's a car coming to the pits. I think that was De Rossa, who's actually got damage as well. So De Rossa has yet again made another mistake and lost part of his wing on the curve. So that is very, very sloppy from the Polish driver there. You can see, so it was fine then, but then as he went over the curve, slight jolt, and pop, there goes part of the wing, which of course loses a lot of downforce. So he's going to have to pit and get that changed. Meanwhile, the battle for the lead still continues. This is Galloway on the back of Perrinin as they head towards turn 1. And will Galloway make it through this time? He's alongside Perrinin. Surely this is the move. And the answer is yes, it is. So it's not taking Galloway long at all. Maybe a lap or so longer than expected. But they're both now on the same strategy per se, as they're both pitting one more time. Roke, meanwhile, in 3rd position. I don't think he's going to really threaten the leaders. Amar Carr at the moment in 9th position behind the Lamborghini of Laura Chung. And this is the battle for P8 in the order. Chung almost being pushed around the corner by Carr there. That's how close he was. As they're now heading towards the final couple of corners. They're heading through this long left-hander which needs to go on forever. Then into the tight right. And now on to the start-finish straight. And Carr in the slipstream of Laura Chung as they head up towards the first corner, and Carr looking to make a move. Chung doesn't really put up any sort of defence, so this should be an easy move P4 car, and he does make it through. Up the inside, he's up into P8, and now the next car he's got ahead of him actually is Federi in the Alfa Romeo, who's surprisingly doing quite well in this race, up in the points. Meanwhile, this is Julius Anderson attempting to go by Romain Quag. This is for 13th, coming into the chicane, and Anderson does make it through up the inside of the Frenchman in his home Grand Prix, and the crowd do not like that at all. Meanwhile, this actually is George Roque, who's caught up to the back of Perrin, so Perrin's tyres must have fallen off, because Roque is now on the inside, heading up towards the chicane. And will Roque make it through up into second? The answer is not quite. But the fact that Roque's actually even caught up to the back of Perrin tells you everything you need to know. The gap Galloway to Perrin, by the way, is now up to 13 seconds. So Perrin's tyres really have gone off quite significantly. And Roque makes the move actually past turn 2. And he's already got past Galloway as they head up towards turn 3. That was a great move there by the Englishman. He gets past Perrin, who I don't know if he's caught unawares, but I think Roque just clearly has better traction off the corner there, and so he makes it now up into P2. Of course, both these two will have a pit stop before the end. Lopez, running in 4th position, will be pitting. Federi and Roland Moichin are both pitting as well for Aston Martin and Alfa Romeo, respectively. And so, yeah, looking at Moichin now into the pits. Can Moichin stay ahead of the Alfa Romeo team is going to be the big question. So he changes all 4 tyres, 5.4 seconds, so quick stop there. So Federi changes his tyres as well, fuel, and yep, 6.2, so yep, Moichin stays comfortably in front, if anything gets slightly even further ahead. I mean, this is Willows trying to have a go at Chung coming into the first corner. There's contact, and Willows is around. I thought he was going to be able to save it, but he spins around, and Willows, who had a decent first stint, and who has pitted and was going to go to the end, unfortunately he has put all of that work down the drain, and he's going to lose several positions here. He tries to move to get back onto the circuit, but he's going to have to wait for several more cars to go by through turn 1. And yeah, so look at that, he's dropping all the way down to 16th. It's going to be 17th, maybe even 18th. So he's down to 17th, so no, he does rejoin there. But Willows, all his hard work and all that work in the first stint has all gone to waste. And you can see it was bound to happen. Just got a little bit too much momentum, got sucked in by Chung's car. And yeah, that's what happens. So Lopez, meanwhile, comes in for his final stop of the race. He's running in a Solar P4. He's had a decent race, Lopez, I think. He's kept himself out of trouble. He's not quite been on the same level as the guys in front, but he's done a decent job nonetheless. You can't really complain about that. So we're looking, meanwhile, at George Roque right now, running in P2. He's got about a 1.3 second gap to Perrin in behind. Meanwhile, this is Willows now going past his favourite driver, Felix Sontag, into turn 1. And is he through? The answer is yes, so he's up into P16. So, meanwhile, we're looking at Jake Galloway, who's going to be pitting soon as well. I mean, most drivers are going to be pitting soon. This is, meanwhile, the battle between Moichin and Chung. This is for P7 as they head up towards the first corner. And Moichin on the inside, can he make a stick? The answer is no. So he has to stay behind, although he might get a good run off this corner, off of turn 2 as they head towards turn 3. Moichin in the slipstream, going to have a go at Chung on the inside. And he's going to make it stick. Oh, there's contact. Oh, dear. And, oh, Chung, I think, has gone into Federi there. Moichin is out anyway. And Chung has caught Federi in the meantime. So, Moichin is out, and Federi is out, and Laura Chung has lost a front wing. And yet, it was the same thing exactly that happened with the De Rossi incident earlier. And yeah, Chung just rejoins right into the path of Federi, who was just about to clean up. And yeah, Federi had absolutely nowhere to go, and Chung rejoining just collects the side of Federi's car. And yeah, Chung again survives, but was out of front wing, so she'll have to pit. And so Roland Moichin actually receives a 5-place grid penalty for causing the incident with Laura Chung. I'm surprised he actually got really a penalty for that. I mean, he went for it on the inside, I guess. But Laura Chung, however, has received a harsher punishment in this race alone, and receives a 25-second time penalty for causing the collision with Federi. So lots of penalties flying around in this one. But as I said, there goes the Alfa Romeo of Federi. And Federi will be pretty annoyed, to say the least, because he was actually having a pretty good race. He was set to be on for a decent haul of points, and now, unfortunately, he is going to be getting precisely nada from this one. So meanwhile, we're looking at the McLaren there of De Rossi right now running in essentially last place in P17. And oh no, Felix Sonntag has got a problem. And Felix Sonntag has got a mechanical failure here, so that is not good. Sonntag, who is having an okay race, really, but he is going to have to pit with a problem. Meanwhile, George Roque in second position is also going to pit for fresh tyres before the end. I was about to say he's going to do the undercut on Galloway, but that's certainly not going to happen. Meanwhile, Chung is in the pits, and I think she may have held up Q-Pock a little bit as well as she came in. But she comes in nonetheless. She will change her front wing, and of course all four tyres, and she will of course go. Well, it's quite fitting actually, because she was about to pit anyway. But yeah, now they have the reason to change the front wing, fresh tyres, maybe make a couple of adjustments on the car. But Chris Chatfield, meanwhile, has just come out of the pits as well, and he was on the one. Well, he was on the one stop. As meanwhile, Willow's now going past. It looks like Wilson coming up towards turn 3, and Willows does make it stick past the Haas driver, who herself is going to be pitting soon as well. Galloway just coming up to the lap. Julius Anderson right now running in P7. So looking through the rest of the order, there's Roque, who's just coming out of the pits now, and Perrinin actually is going to be ahead, and he's going to the end. So Perrinin has essentially done the undercut on George Roque, and so Perrinin has retaken second position. So that'll be interesting to see if Roque can mount an attack on Perrinin before the end of the race, if he can catch up to him or not. He's going to be on slightly fresher tyres, and I mean slight. It's all about who preserves their tyres, who decides to attack them but also preserve them before the end of the race. There is only 12 laps to go of the French Grand Prix, as you see Carr coming in for his final stop of the race, 6.5 seconds that stop. And so yeah, again, the 3-stop strategy for him just didn't work out for him, as we're looking at Galloway going past the Aston Martin there of Julius Anderson right now, running in 7th. Patel, meanwhile, up to 12. Patel actually has made a semi-decent recovery actually after getting involved with taking out Evan Byrne earlier on in the race. So is looking at Mikkel Skau now coming into pits for his final stop of the race as well. Galloway is going to have at least another couple of laps before he decides to come in. Although, yeah, I don't think Perrinin is going to even remotely be able to do anything about what looks like Galloway's inevitable victory, as he's just coming out of the pits now. So, and he's going to come out, I think, comfortably still in the lead. And so he comes out, 4.7 second stop, by the way, as well. Exceptionally quick. Meanwhile, this is Gal attacking De Rossa. This is for P12, but they're about to be lapped by the Renault behind of Perrinin. Gal tries it into the chicane, but he can't quite do it. And now Perrinin is going to be right behind him. As you can see him just coming into shot. That could do well, actually, for George Roque. As meanwhile, Carr goes past Gamba for P5, coming in towards turn 1. But Gamba himself was pitting anyway. And so, Carr right now in P5, Lopez P4. And Lopez, I don't know what the gap is between him and Roque. It's not too big, but I don't think Lopez is going to be able to catch up with Roque. The gap down's, I think, to 7.1. But now Perrinin is stuck in traffic at this moment in time, and that could help George Roque possibly close up behind. Meanwhile, we're looking at Julius Anderson, who is close up behind the AlphaTauri of Mikkel Skau. As we look at the two coming on the straight, I think Gau was just lapped there by the Red Bulls. Meanwhile, Patel trying to go past De Rossa, and Quag also trying to get involved in this as well as they head up towards the chicane. Patel on the inside of the McLaren. It's a late move, but Patel gets it done past the Italian driver of De Rossa, and oh, that was close. It could have been a bit of contact there between De Rossa and Quag there. And yeah, as now we're looking at Julius Anderson, who once again is going to try and move on Gao coming up towards the chicane. This is going to be for P11, so this is for outside of the points. And meanwhile, Patel behind is close, so I wonder if Patel could even sneak up another couple of positions here. But crucially, of course, let's not forget the driver who is actually in front of this gaggle, which is Laura Chung, and she has a 25-second penalty. So yeah, I mean, as long as Anderson can keep it under 25 seconds, he actually might have a chance of getting himself a point in this race. As we look on board with the other Lamborghini of Patel, who's trying to go past Mikkel Skau, and Gau gets a poor run off actually of turn 2, and Patel says thank you very much, and is going to go past the AlphaTauri, and he does. So he's now up into 12th position, and now Gal under pressure from Quark in the Alfa Romeo. So we're now on to the final lap of the race, and it is Jake Galloway in the Ferrari that looks set to take another victory this season. And let's face it, it's never really looked like being in doubt. It's always looked like it was going to be him, and for Galloway, he would take yet again another victory. This would be his second victory of the season, with his first being at the Spanish Grand Prix, where of course he overtook George Roque on the final lap to win this race after a long race battle. But for Galloway also as well, let's not forget he did it on the three stop. The three stop is generally never a favourable strategy, but I suppose he made it work just by pure pace, because he's about 15 seconds clear of Perelin. No one looked even close to being on Galloway's level here today. It was only ever going to go one way, and of course, unless Ferrari messed it up somehow, but this is of course a game and not real life, and in real life Ferrari makes mistakes, but in the game Ferrari doesn't, and Galloway is set to come and take his second victory of the season, and his first as well, at Paul Ricard. So as he's coming around the final couple of corners, now for the 53rd and final time, now onto the front straight, and Jake Galloway is about to come across the line and win the French Grand Prix for the first time in his top class career. Jake Galloway wins here in France, and very well deserved at that. So meanwhile, Chatfield, his teammate, actually comes across the line in P8. Meanwhile, I think Gamma has passed Willows on the last lap for 6th place there. Meanwhile, Jesus Perrin comes across the line for 2nd place. Gagaranderas, Jesus, well done to him. And 3rd place will be George Roque. David Cupot, meanwhile, 9th. Chung 10th on track, however. Roque just came across the line in 3rd, and Anderson across the line. I'm not sure the gap to Chung, or the gap to Chung was. It was way under 25 seconds. I think it was 10 seconds. So I think Anderson is going to nick the final point, and there's going to be quite a few movements in the order at the end. Lopez had come across the line in 4th. Gal, who was running close to the point at the end, unfortunately tyres faded away badly, so he doesn't get any today. Sontag crossed the line 16th. Meanwhile, a battle for the finish line between Daniel Fraser and De Rossa, who both had very bad races. At least they come across the line. Will Fraser hold on to 17th? And the answer is yes, he does, just De Rossa, although I think De Rossa did have a time penalty as well, actually, so I think he will stay in 18th. And meanwhile, Jamie Griffiths will come across the line in 19th, and last I completely forgot he was even racing. So he's just decided to turn up at the end just to get across the line. But yeah, I never saw him at all in this race, but he will finish, albeit a very lonely last position, way off the pace of the order, so that is quite bizarre, really. But as we look at Franco Gamma across the line in P6, and finally Joseph was across the line in P7. But there is your race winner, Jake Galloway, and here are the full race results. Jake Galloway winning ahead of Jesus Perrin in 2nd, George Roque 3rd, Franco Lopez 4th, Amarcar 5th, Franco Gamba 6th, Joseph was 7th, Chris Chatfield 8th, David Cupok 9th, good points for him, and Julius Anderson moving up into 10th, getting that last points position ahead of Rahul Patel in 11th. Jake Galloway also getting that extra point for fastest lap, with Quark, Gal, and Amelia all moving up one position ahead of Chung, who dropped down to 15th with that 25-second penalty. Felix Sontag 16th, Daniel Fraser 17th, De Rossa 18th with a 10-second time penalty, and Jamie Griffiths 19th. Last in this race, with Federi, Moichin, and Byrne being the 3 retirements from this Grand Prix. All, of course, racing. Also, all 3 were accidents. Amarcar still leads the championship, but the gap down to just 9 points, with Perrin moving ahead of Gamma by just 1 point. Jake Galloway moving up into the top 5, in 4th place specifically. George moving up into 6th position. It's actually very tight there. Chris Chatfield moving up into 9th position in the lower reaches of the points. Jules Anderson moves ahead of Romain Quag in the Alfa Romeo. And you see the rest of the order quite tight as well between Moichin and De Rossa. De Rossa, by the way, is extremely low in the order, only 17th in the Drivers' Championship standing, so he's not had a good season so far, with the Wilson as Sontag. And yeah, in the Constructors, Mercedes lead ahead of Red Bull, who move above Renault by just 1 point into 2nd, and the other movement in the order is AlphaTauri moving ahead of Alfa Romeo into 8th position by finishing in a higher position. And it was Julius Anderson and Jake Galloway both given Driver of the Day. They both put in good performances, so fair play. I thought it would be a comfortable win for Galloway, but fair play to Anderson for getting himself in there. So there we go. That was the Austrian Grand Prix. I hope you guys enjoyed. Don't forget to, as you give the video a like, check out our links in the description, check out our Twitter, join our Discord, and check out our wiki pages. Thanks for watching, everybody, and we'll see you for the next round, the 9th round, the Austrian Grand Prix at the Red Bull Ring. See you there.